Section 8.2, multiplying and dividing rational functions. Now, this is not, quote-unquote, multiplying and dividing in the normal sense of what you think. We're going to be multiplying and dividing rational functions. Basically, it's the understanding of how you multiply, divide, simplify. That's really what it is today. And this goes in respect to functions, rational functions, more or less. Section 8.2 today. So here's what we're looking at. Examples of rational expressions. Okay, these are 3 examples of rational expressions. Notice, rational expressions typically means there's an x in the denominator. So if you look on the first one, 3 over x. No, we're not going to get in fight. Maybe. Not really. Simplify here. We're going to be simplifying expressions. Now, when you simplify expressions, it's very similar to simplifying with respect to numbers. So like 24 over 8. That simplifies to 3. X to the 6th over x to the 2nd. That simplifies to x to the 4th. So when I simplify that, I really get 3x to the 4th. Okay? And that's really not a lot of new stuff right there. We've been doing that in a sense. We're going to add a little bit more difficulty to it. It's this next part that's really the new steps here. Okay? X squared minus 2x minus 8. Now I need to factor each of these. Okay? Now when we say factor, that means what? Multiplies to get C and adds to get B. So what are 2 numbers that multiply to get negative 8, add to get negative 2? Well, that's where I get x minus 4 and x plus 2 over, then I do the second part. What are 2 numbers that multiply to get negative 2, add to get 1? That's a positive 2 and a negative 1. Okay, so if you look here, I factored the top. I factored the bottom. And then you're going to look to cancel out. Basically, what do they both have in common that I could cross out? They both have an x plus 2. So that eliminates. Leaving me with, then, in simplest form, x minus 4 over x minus 1. Okay. And then we're going to state some extremes. Now the extremes come from I cannot get 0 on the bottom. So here it says x cannot equal negative 2 and x cannot equal 1. And I get those 2 values because I have x plus 2 and x minus 1. So basically it's always going to be the opposite of whatever in the denominator. Okay. And that's really what we're going to be doing today. We're going to add a couple more things. But if you can simplify like that right there, we're going to be just fine today.
So we're not going to do a number?
Not really. Nope. Number 1 here. So I have x squared minus 2x minus 3 over x squared plus 6x plus 5. Now notice, they did the first step of factoring for us already. Alright? So I have x squared minus 2x minus 3 factors to x plus 1, x minus 3. Again, what are 2 numbers that multiply to get negative 3, add to get negative 2, negative 3 and 1. And then x squared plus 6x plus 5 factors to x plus 1 and x plus 5. So 2 numbers that multiply to get 5, add to get 6, 5 and 1. Now I look to cancel. What do they both have in common that I can cross off? They both share x plus 1, right? So I cross them out. And that leaves me with x minus 3 over x plus 5. Okay. So that's half my answer, because now I'm going to state what values can x not equal. So to do that, I go back right up here. What are the 2 values that x cannot equal? Negative 1 and 5. And that right there is my answer.
Why not negative 1?
It is negative 1 and 5.
Why not negative 5? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it is negative 5. Thank you. Yes, negative 1 and negative 5. Thank you. Forgot the negative there.
Why negative 1?
All right, number 2 next. 20x to the 9th over 4x to the 3rd. Now, I can simplify my numbers just like I would. What's 20 divided by 4 going to give me? 5. So I really have 5x to the 6th over x to the 3rd. Or not 6, sorry. X to the 9th over x to the 3rd. And then I simplify my exponents. So x to the 9th over x to the 3rd really gets me x to the... So I have 5x to the 6th. Okay. And now I look back to my original. What values can x not equal? 0. So I get 5x to the 6th, and x cannot equal 0. Now, number 3 is a little bit different because there's no c in the numerator. So I factor by undistributing. So x squared minus 4x. What do they both have in common that I can pull out? An x. So that gets me x parentheses x minus 4 over, now the bottom, the numerator. What are two numbers that multiply to get 4, add to get negative 5? So x minus 4 and x minus 1. And now I look to cancel. What do they both have in common that I can cancel out? So my answer is x over x minus 1. And now I look, what values can x not equal? X cannot equal 4 and 1. And there's my answer right there. Yes, sir. How did I get 0? Because right here, Jesse, 4x to the 3rd. Notice there's no addition and subtraction. That's just straight multiplication. So when it's straight multiplication, that's when it's 0. All right, take a couple seconds to try these 3. Number 6 is a little bit tougher. Okay, but take a couple seconds to try these 3. All right, let's go these. Let's try number 4 here. So I need to factor the numerator and the denominator. So I need to find two numbers that are going to multiply. Oh my gosh. Edit mode. Edit mode. I need to find two numbers that are going to multiply to get C and add to get B. So what are two numbers that multiply to get 2, add to get 3? The numbers are 2 and 1. So I get x plus 2 and x plus 1. The biggest thing is you have to make sure you factor everything down. Over. Now I find two numbers that multiply to get negative 4, add to get negative 3. Those numbers are negative 4 and 1. So I have x minus 4 and x plus 1. And now I look, what do they both have in common that I can cancel out? X plus 1. Leave me with x plus 2 over x minus 4. And x cannot equal which two values? Negative 1 and 4.
Yeah, how do you find like the negative?
Right here. It comes back from when you factor it, back to my original problem.
Oh, so like your bottom denominator?
Yep, because remember my denominator cannot be 0.
Okay.
So what values would get me to 0 in the denominator is what I'm looking at. Okay, I'm looking to see how would I get 0 in the denominator. Where I'd get it if I plugged in 4, I'd get a 0. If I plugged in negative 1, I'd get a 0. Well, that tells me x cannot equal those two values then. What'd you say? You bet. Number 5. Let's try number 5. Number 5 is kind of an easier one because it's just kind of simplifying really. But there's nothing else you have to factor. Pat, what'd you say?
2x squared.
It is 2x squared, sir. And then x cannot equal what, Pat?
0.
Straight up subtracted.
Well, you divide 4 divided by 2, and then you subtract exponents. Because that's just a monomial, Lane. You see how it's a monomial? It's just one term.
Yep.
Okay. Now number 6 is tougher. In the numerator, what do you have to do first in that numerator? Pull out a what?
X.
X. So you pull out an x, giving you x parentheses x squared plus x minus 20 all over x squared minus 16. No, I pulled the x out. Okay. Now I can factor. What multiplies to get negative 20 adds to get x, or adds to get 1?
5 negative 4.
So you x parentheses x plus 5 and x minus 4 all over. Now x squared minus 16. That's like saying x squared plus 0x minus 16. That's the difference of squares. So what two numbers that multiply to get negative 16 but add to get 0? That would be 4 and... So I get x plus 4 and x minus 4. You have that memorized? Good work. So now I look, what are the two things that cancel out? What cancels out here, sorry? X minus 4. Leaving me with x parentheses x plus 5 all over x plus 4. And x cannot equal which values? 4 and negative 4. Oops. And there's my answer right there. Okay. Now, the next part here, we're going to add a little bit more to this. We're going to work on multiplying some functions. Now, a little bit tougher, okay, because now there's a little bit more to be done. You can, however, simplify first and then multiply as well. All right? So they choose to multiply first and then simplify. We can also simplify the individual fractions and then multiply. Either way, we will get to a final answer that would look like this. Yes, sir. All right, so we're going to multiply kind of fractions here now. We can also multiply rational expressions with this. So I'm going to look to factor, same idea now. I look at each term. So x plus 3, I can't really factor that one out. 6x minus 6, recognize I can factor a 6 out. So I pull a 6 out of that, getting me 6 parentheses x minus 1. X minus 1, can't factor anything on that. X squared minus 9, that's the difference of squares. So I factor that out as well. So I factor everything out. Now I look to see, hey, I can look to what can I cancel? Well, x minus 1 cancels. X plus 3 cancels, leaving me with 1 over 6 x minus 3. Okay. So multiplying these, you always want to look to simplify first. So simplify your individual fractions, factor everything down, and then you're cross-canceling. What do they have in common that you can take out? That you can simplify on these. They're also going to talk about dividing. Now, the only difference with dividing is you cannot divide fractions. For instance, if I gave you the problem, 2/3 divided by 2/5. We can't do that problem. However, what can we do instead? Yeah, multiply by the reciprocal. So we take 2/3 times 5 over 2. It's the same thing with fractions here. We're not going to divide. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal, and we get the answer all the same. So number 7 here. Now again, you look at these problems, you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot going on. It's not that bad. We're going to look to simplify first, and then we're going to multiply. So number 7 here, I have 2 fractions. I'm going to look to simplify. I'm going to simplify the left fraction first. All right? So I have 12 divided by 6. I have 12 divided by 6. What's that simplify to? 2. I have x to the 5th over x squared. What's that simplified to? X to the 3rd. Over, I have y to the 2nd over y to the 4th. That gets me y to the 2nd. Times, and I'm going to do the second fraction. 9 divided by 3 gets me 3. X to the 3rd over x squared gets me x. Y over y to the 3rd gets me y to the oops, sorry. It should be up top. You're right. Thank you. And then y should be on the bottom. Good catch. Okay. Now that I have that, now I'm just going to multiply. What's 2 times 3? 6. X to the 3rd times x gets me x to the 4th. Y to the 2nd times y to the 2nd gets me y to the 4th. And there's my answer right there. Okay. You're going to look to simplify first and then multiply. It's not really that bad. Number 8. Now I'm going to look at the first fraction here. Can I factor that top one? Yes, I can. What do they both have in common that I can pull out? A 2. So I pull a 2 out, giving me x minus 1. over x plus 4. Nothing can happen to the bottom. Times, now I do my second part here. If I look at my numerator, x squared plus 4x, what do they both have in common that I can pull out?
X.
So I have x parentheses x plus 4. Over, now the bottom has a trinomial. Two numbers that multiply to get 2, add to get negative 3. So I get x minus 2 and x minus 1. And now I look to cancel. What do they have in common that I can cancel out? An x plus 4 and an x minus 1, right? And that leaves me with a final answer of 2x parentheses x minus 2. How's that look, Schultz? Good. Let's try number 9. I have 8x plus 16 over x squared minus 1. When I look at the first fraction, what comes out of the numerator? 8. I'm going to erase here so I can clear up some space here. So I pull an 8 out, giving me x plus 2. Over the denominator is that difference of squares. X squared minus 1. What multiplies get negative 1, adds to get 0? Negative 1 and 1. So I get x plus 1 and x minus 1. Times x plus 1 is the same. What comes out of the denominator in the second fraction? A4. So I have 4 parentheses x plus 2. Now I look to cancel. What can I cancel out? X plus 2 and x plus 1. Now, I'm going to write this down. I can actually do one more thing. Because I actually get 8 over 4 parentheses x minus 1. What else can I do? Simplify that. So what do I really get? 2 over x minus 1. And that's my answer. Okay, because the 8 and the 4, I could divide that out. Alright? Try 10 and 11 for sure. Oh, sorry. Just kidding. We're on division now. Number 10. I want to divide the functions. Now, can I divide fractions? No. Instead, I multiply by the reciprocal. So the first one's always going to stay the same. 3x to the third y over 5xy to the second times 15y over 9xy to the third. Okay. So recognize, I multiply by the reciprocal here. Now I can simplify each fraction. My first fraction simplifies to 3x squared over 5y. Okay. 3 and 5 can't really, they're not divisible. X to the third over x gets me x to the second. Y over y to the second gets me y. Times 15 over 9 simplifies to 5 thirds. Over x y to the second. Is that right? Okay. Yes, Jesse? Because the larger exponent's up top. You see, Jesse, I have x to the third. And I have x, the larger one's up top, so it's going to stay up top. Now I multiply, or I can cross cancel here. What can cancel out? Basically my 5s and my 3s. Leaving me with x over y to the third. Let's try number 11. Same idea. Okay. Instead of division, I want to multiply by the reciprocal. So I take 4x minus 8, parentheses x squared minus 4, times x plus 2 over 3x. And again, recognize, do not want to divide, want to multiply by the reciprocal. Now I look to see what can I pull out? So in that left fraction, in my numerator, what can I pull out there? Colon A. The numerator? Or the left one? I'm going to pull out a 4. Over x squared minus 4. How does that simplify? Lane? X squared minus 4, how does that factor?
X squared minus 4.
Yeah. What multiplies to get negative 4 adds to get 0? 2 and? Huh? So you're x plus 2, x minus 2 times x plus 2 over 3x. And now I look to simplify. What can I cancel out? X minus 2, my x plus 2, and I get 4 over 3x. Number 12 is a little bit tougher. We're not going to worry about that one right now. Okay. Try these 3. Try numbers 13 and 14 for sure. If you get to 15, great. But try 13 and 14 for sure. If you factor that first one, here's what you get when you factor it. Okay. Then after you cancel everything out, you're going to be left with 2 parentheses x minus 1 actually. On the right one, hopefully you remembered to flip the second one. So you get 5x to the 6th over x squared y times y over 10x squared. And then you can simplify your fractions first and then multiply. Either way you work it out, you should get, what do you get there, Colton? X squared over 2, nice job. Didn't make it, try number 15. Did you factor the right side? What did you get when you factored the right side? X what? Minus 1, x minus 1? X plus 3 cancels, x minus 1 cancels. Now it leaves me with x minus 1 over x plus 2. Right there. Nice job. Again, make sure you factor everything down, simplify everything. Here's your assignment.